Welcome back to Ben Salutes. And when I was a kid, we had a good excuse for staying indoors. Today, I'm saluting the greatest video game console on the face of the earth, the Nintendo 64. Oh! Well, my story starts when my mom took me into a Shopko like some 11 years ago, and I kept asking her, I want a PlayStation. I want a PlayStation. She's like, fine, we'll get you a PlayStation if you just shut up. Okay, she didn't say it like that, but you get the idea. So anyway, we go into the Shopko. They're out of PlayStations. So what does my mom get me? The Nintendo 64. And I think it was the best mistake she ever could have made. Because when I was obsessed with that Nintendo 64, and I've had more fun out of it than I bet I would have ever had with a crummy old PlayStation. So anyway, I got the Nintendo 64. My mom made me pick out games, and the games I got were Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko, and Ridge Racer 64. I got Ridge Racer 64 because my dad wouldn't stop nagging me to get a racing game. My mom got it, and he never played it. I played Gex 3 the most out of the first two games I got, and as time went on, I continued to get more and more games for my Nintendo 64. I got Pokemon Stadium, I got Space Invaders, I got Pokemon Stadium 2, Star Fox 64, Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, Earthworm Jim 3D, piece of crap game, Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Brothers, and WCW vs. NWO Revenge. But before I got all those games, I used to go to the video store all the time and rent a lot of the games. So every Friday became my game day. My mom would take me to my local video store, and I would pick out a Nintendo 64 game, and I would play it all night. I loved it. Some games were good, some games were bad, but all in all, it was a good experience for me. I can't remember how much those games were worth renting a long time ago. But if my mom didn't strangle me if my mom never strangled me for it, I guess they weren't that bad. So anyway, I picked a bad time to get the Nintendo 64 because pretty soon it was starting to lose its popularity around late 1999. And in 2000, nobody was giving a crap about the Nintendo 64 anymore, and they were thinking about Nintendo's newest system, the GameCube, which I also had and I was very excited to get. So, what makes the Nintendo 64 the greatest console ever? Well, for starters, it's home to my favorite games of all time, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Why do I love these games so much? Well, I love cartoons so much. I think these games are just basically a cartoon that you can play because it's so wacky, original, and has great imagination in it. It just feels like a cartoon to me, and I love every single moment of it. Not to mention, I love going on adventures, and I love fantasy and stuff like that. And going through all the worlds in these games is a heck of a lot of fun. Banjo-Tooie capitalized on the idea of Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Tooie basically took the little corners of the worlds of Banjo-Kazooie and turned the worlds of Banjo-Tooie into like a whole room instead of a corner. Banjo-Tooie was definitely a great video game sequel, and one of the few that's actually comes very close to being as good as the original. You're probably wondering, which one do I like better, Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie? I'm going to have to go with Kazooie on this one, because there was nothing more that I loved, because I have more nostalgia for the first one, because the first time I rented it from the video store and played it, I kept going back to that store and renting it way before Banjo-Tooie came out, and I just had so much fun with it. And I know a lot of people like the second one better because you don't have to collect a lot of the items that you recollect a lot of the items if you exit the world. But I thought that was part of the fun of it, collecting all the stuff. So, yeah. Also, some of my favorite games ever for the Nintendo 64 was WCW NWO Revenge, the best wrestling game ever. Over 60 wrestlers and duking it out. It is so awesome. I cannot describe it with words. Words cannot do it justice. And back then, I used to have a next door neighbor that also had a Nintendo 64. So we also exchanged games and stuff like that, and we had a lot of fun with that. I used to fight with him in Super Smash Bros. All the time. And we used to fight together because we both wanted to be Kirby. And I remember playing Mario Kart 64, and I used to fight with him because we both wanted to be Yoshi. Aha, the good old days. Not only were their games good, but the commercials for the games were also friggin' amazing. I mean, the commercial for the original Super Smash Bros. Is so hilarious. I mean, first you see all your favorite Nintendo characters skipping together, and then Mario trips Yoshi, and then all heck breaks loose. They start beating each other up, and then they advertise the game. Holy crap, that looks friggin' awesome. I really want that game. Yeah. And also, a lot of Nintendo 64 commercials were very creative. Like, I remember one where it showed a fat woman, and she's going over to a kid that's never seen, and she's like, "Oh, come here, I just want to kiss you." And then, before she kisses him, a Buzz Lightyear helmet comes down and blocking the kiss of the woman, and it turned out being a commercial for the Toy Story 2 game for the Nintendo 64. Wow, I never would have realized that. Very, very creative. Man, Nintendo 64 commercials were so awesome. They were some of my favorite commercials watching. They're some of my favorite commercials that I love watching, rewatching here on YouTube. I have great memories of them. Many people complain these days that Nintendo goes more for the kiddie fare, but back then the Nintendo 64 had a lot of games that were meant for adults. I mean, some of them included Resident Evil games, Mortal Kombat games, including Conker's Bad Fur Day. Rare. I never knew you had it in you to make a game this incredibly raunchy, but you proved me wrong and pulled it off. Another good thing about the Nintendo 64, I'm still playing it today. I've had the same system for 11 years, and it still works. It's still purring like a newborn kitten. It's at my grandma's house right now, and every Sunday, me and my cousins play it together, so they have memory, so they can feel what it was to feel like when I was a kid playing the Nintendo 64. You next-gen gamers with your Halo and your Call of Duties and your blah da blah da blah. Back then, we had Mario, we had Banjo-Kazooie, we had Conker's Bad Fur Day, we had Star Fox, we had Pokemon, we had everything. You know what? We don't need stupid first-person shooters to be entertained. And our first-person shooters were a heck of a lot better. Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, you name it. You friggin' name it. They were awesome. So, I salute the Nintendo 64, the greatest console ever made, bar friggin' none. Nintendo, you are the gods of video games. And this is the reason I don't play much video games anymore, because there are no more games that are like the Nintendo 64. Oh, those were the days of cartridges. What I want to do to become a child again. Gamers, get out, break out your Nintendo 64s. We're having an N64 party at my house. Well, not really. Goodbye.